try to answer them.
My question is, you're looking for students to develop a marketing plan for entry into China.
Yeah,
So, like,
that's
I know
absolutely
a lot
right.
of us, like, for me, I don't know how the geography and what the market is like in China. So how will we source that?
So the interesting thing also is that the pharmaceutical companies, they used to, the U.S. is really the most important market, but now some of them say, well, what's your China strategy first? When I worked at Roche 10 years ago, nobody said that. And now they're like, well, we'll figure out China and then we'll get some revenue and then we'll go back into the U.S. So it's pretty interesting and pretty dynamic. And Bayer, we mentioned, is the only of the multinationals that we configure that's actually gotten a return on their investment in China. So it's a tough market. And some companies have gone in there, and as the SFDA, so the Chinese FDA, keeps raising the bar, it can take not 1 year but 3 years maybe to get a drug approved that's approved elsewhere. So this drug being sort of grandfathered in, already being approved, but just never launched properly throughout the country, is a pretty unique opportunity for the company, and I think, for hopefully a couple of you all. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think.
You mentioned something about it being nice to know Mandarin. Will we be working with teams over in China, or?
Yeah, so the company that we have some Mandarin-speaking people in the company, so that's not essential. But the company that we deal with in southern China, that's an issue. So we have periodic meetings in person. But look, if you're interested in the pharmaceutical industry and you're interested in emerging markets, and you don't speak Mandarin, maybe find somebody. But if you're really passionate about doing this, that's not a gating item as far as I'm concerned.
Will we also be working in teams by ourselves, or will we be working in teams with people from the company as well? Will people from the company be involved in the whole project, I guess?
Yeah, we'll be involved. So the Vancouver-based CEO would certainly be involved. And I think I looked at the nice email that was prepared. This is not a 10-hour one-person project. This is probably a bigger project. It's probably 2 or 3 people, or you all are creative, obviously, from the questions in the first company. So there may be something that we're missing. Come to us and say we want to do it this way. And that's the beauty of having people look at something that we've been focused on for 3 years. Maybe we're missing something, but it is a very exciting opportunity in terms of relaunching it, and the new science that emerged in March actually is really compelling. So there was a group in Singapore, Duke, and Japan that basically figured out that Asians are less likely to respond to drugs like Gleevec, that you might have heard of, which could make this drug in lung and CML, which the drug's approved for in China. So this could be really compelling for cancer patients in 2013 in China. You could be making a difference to us, yes, in revenue, but a difference to cancer patients in China, in 2013. So it's got both elements. Yes, sir.
Is the company looking at only the Chinese and then the US market, or is the company open to exploring other options as well, geography-wise?
We've looked at other geographies. Essentially what we want to do is we want to hand it off to a Chinese marketing partner with our manufacturing partner in China. So we have a joint committee with them, and we want to focus on getting this drug approved over the next 2 or 3 years in the US. But we want to be smarter about how we partner with the multinationals in the Chinese market. And I think that's where you all can help us.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you very much.
So the next organization is called Notey, and I'll ask Kevin to come up and.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I'll email it to myself. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I am I guess it would be a UBC Commerce grad. It wasn't called Sauder back then. But I graduated in 2000, and then I moved off to Asia. So I'm kind of just coming back. Literally last night, I just flew back. So, yeah, so I work for a startup. And in a startup, we're basically a small company, and you'd be working with me, my buddies. And there's probably, I have 4 developers in Hong Kong. I'm looking to set up an office here in Vancouver. We have about 5 intern-like people that we have on our team right now. We have a desk in San Francisco that we borrow. I'll briefly mention who I am, because I think that's important for what we're doing. I hate talking about myself, but I think I need to speed through it just to give some perspective on what we're doing. So I'm a grad of 2000. I told everyone I studied finance, but I actually studied logistics. I was trading options though throughout my time here as an undergrad, so that worked very well for interviews. I never aspired to be in banking at all. Actually, I wanted to be a pianist, but you can't make money in piano. I moved to Hong Kong. I did banking. I worked with Barclays, and I worked with Morgan Stanley for my last 6 years. I ended up running our derivative structuring and trading desk in Hong Kong. We had, I guess, 15, 16 people there. We had a support team in India of about 40 PhDs running analytical models for us. Morgan Stanley had 60,000 people. Our desk had 30. We were about 1/5 of Morgan Stanley's P&L. And that's all cool and fine, but the thing is that it's not fun. It's not fun at all. So, no, I'm really serious. It's like, it's the corporate job. It's great to win. It's good to make money, but at the same rate, I never dreamt of being a banker. I dreamt of actually doing something different. Like, as a banker, you're part of the cog in the machine. Maybe you're the oil or you're just a piece, but you're not actually generating something new. And so, for me, that wasn't really rewarding. So, I was stressed out. I ended up running a lot. I ran across the Gobi Desert, or part of it, twice in 08 and 09 in this stage race. In 09, I started a gaming company in China. Gambling is illegal, but we actually had, for anyone who speaks Mandarin, Dodijio. It's like a poker game. We actually had that on the Communist Party website. In 2010, I started an events company in Hong Kong with a friend. I'm not from the events background, he is, but we basically have like, if Audi is launching a new car, we'd run the creative and the production, someone else would do PR, and we'd have this big party in Hong Kong. If someone was launching if Fendi is launching a new bag, we'd throw a party on the Great Wall or something like that in China. So in 2010, I left banking, and because my job was very analytical and quantitative, I actually wanted to leave that world completely, and I moved to San Francisco and became a clinical hypnotherapist. It's yes, it's true, and we are not being hypnotized, but it grounded me, and it showed me what really motivates people, right? What stops them from sleeping at night? What are their fears? What drives them? What are they really passionate about? And I felt that was important for me to kind of round out my experience in banking and kind of bring me back to the real world. So in 2010, I hired 4 people and started Notey, which I will show you a little bit about right now. So Notey is an internet startup, and it solves a couple problems for both the users and for brands. If I can just figure this out. So it is an interest network, and people may know what that is, but it doesn't really exist. So I tried to kind of divide the space. So you have Facebook as a social network. Everyone knows what this is, but I want to kind of contrast what we're doing. So Facebook is a social network. We are an interest network. In Facebook, the focus is on people. In Notey, the focus is on topics. The news feed on Facebook is really what people want to tell you. You are kind of just receiving whatever anyone wants to tell you. On Notey, it's all stuff that you're interested in. And what I mean by this is, imagine a Facebook newsfeed, and you could type a word like food, and it would filter your whole newsfeed so it would only show food. Conversely, if you were not a foodie, you could exclude the word food, and anything that's related to food would not show up in your newsfeed. So we basically found a way to filter based on what people say instead of who. And this is powerful in the world of making things more relevant and providing value for brands. So that's very big stuff. So what we did was we effectively flipped a social network or an interest network into a social TripAdvisor, or a social Yelp, a social CNET, social everything. We made every single piece of content searchable, basically creating a microcosm of the social internet. And the next page. So, yeah, who else is filtering based on what people said? And it's really no one else. So on the left, you have Facebook, Twitter, Google. They would filter based on who? You know, like your high school buddies, your Vancouver friends, your colleagues. You're always filtering by who. And even in like Google Plus and Google Circles, you may have like this group or that group. But to actually filter based on what people are saying, you would need an infinite number of groups in Google Plus. So we are really the only people in this space, or really the first people. And I basically want to own and define this space. So we actually recycle content. We make everything searchable, as I said, like a social